Hello students, welcome to your online classes. In this video, we'll be discussing first chapter of Science class 10th, that is Chemical Reactions and Equations. So before we start the chapter, let me tell you what are the things which we are going to study in this whole chapter. So the topics are, we'll be talking about the chemical reactions, what they are. We'll be discussing chemical equations, how do we make a chemical equations, how to balance a chemical equation. Then we'll be talking about different type of chemical reactions, combination, decomposition, displacement, double displacement, redox reactions. So all these types of reactions we'll be discussing. And finally, we'll be talking about the effects of redox reaction in our everyday life. So this is all what we have to study in this chapter. Now let's start our chapter with the understanding of chemical reactions. Now you know that chemistry, it's all the study of matter, and the matter which is present all around us, it undergoes changes. So all the changes which are taking place in matter, they can be divided into two types: physical change and chemical change. Physical change, these are those changes in which no new substance is being formed after the change. They are reversible in nature. Example, tearing of paper. So when we tear the paper, the bits of paper which are being created, they are similar to the paper which we have taken earlier. So no new substance is being formed. Whereas chemical changes, these are those changes in which a new substance is being formed after the reaction, after the change. And these are irreversible or not reversible in nature. Example, burning of paper. So when you burn a paper, the ash which is being formed after the burning, that is not similar to the paper which you have taken earlier. So these are your chemical changes. Now the process by which these chemical changes they take place, that process is only called as your chemical reactions. So chemical reactions, these are the process in which one or more substance combined to form a new substance with new properties. In chemical changes, rearrangement of atoms of different elements are taking place. And this rearrangement of atoms, it is being done by breaking of the old bonds and by formation of new bonds. Now the question comes, why does a substance or why does a matter undergoes a chemical reaction? Now, a substance undergoes a chemical reaction to gain maximum stability and to acquire the minimum energy state. So every substance, it wants to have that maximum stability. By maximum stability, that means the substance wants to acquire the stable electronic configuration. And you know that stable electronic configuration means presence of 8 electrons in the valence shell. Now, so just to attain them, the substance undergoes a chemical reaction. During a chemical reaction, the substance which takes part in the chemical reaction, they are called as your reactants, and the new substance which is being produced after the reaction, that is called as your product. So in a chemical reaction, the reactants are changing or they are being transformed into the products. Let's see an example. Let's understand a chemical reaction with an example. The burning of magnesium ribbon in presence of air to form magnesium oxide, it's a chemical reaction. So when we burn magnesium ribbon, in presence of air it contains oxygen. So in presence of oxygen, when you are burning magnesium, as a product magnesium oxide is being formed. So magnesium and oxygen from which we are starting our reaction, that will be called as your reactant, and magnesium oxide which is formed after the reaction, that will be called as your product. Now, so I hope you would have understood what are these chemical reactions. So matter, it continuously undergoes the chemical reactions. So the matter which is present around us, it is having the chemical reactions are taking place in this matter. But sometimes these reactions are noticeable, and sometimes we didn't even notice the chemical reactions which are taking place. So now let us see that what are the characteristics of chemical reactions. Characteristics, by characteristics it means that what are the special features by which we can observe, that by which we can find out that a chemical reaction have taken place in any matter. So the important characteristics of a chemical reaction, they are evolution of gas, formation of precipitate, change in color, change in temperature, and change in state. So these are the characteristics of chemical reaction. Now let us see these characteristics with certain examples. So the first is evolution of gas. So there are some chemical reactions in which gas is being formed as a product. For example, when zinc reacts with hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid, hydrogen gas is being formed. So this evolution of gas, it indicates the presence of a chemical reaction. Now the second one is formation of precipitate. Now there are some reactions in which a solid product is being formed after the reaction have taken place, and this solid product which is being formed as a product, it's insoluble in the solution. So this solid which is insoluble in solution, this is called as your precipitate. So the formation of precipitate, it also indicates the presence of a chemical reaction. For example, as it happens when lead nitrate is being treated with potassium iodide. So when you combine lead nitrate with potassium iodide, lead iodide and potassium nitrate is being formed, and this lead iodide, it's a yellow precipitate as what you are seeing in diagram. So this formation of yellow precipitate, it is indicating that the chemical reactions are taking place. Now let's discuss the next point, that is change in color. So change in color, this also indicates the presence of a chemical reactions. Change in color, that means the reactants are having some different color, and when the product is being formed, the color is being changed. As it happens, for example, as it happens when copper sulfate reacts with iron. Copper sulfate, it's a blue color solution. When we react it with iron, when iron is being reacted with it, the color of the copper sulfate, it changes to greenish. This green color is just because of formation of iron sulfate. So the color from blue, it has been changed to green. So this also indicates a chemical reaction. Now the next is change in temperature. So there are some reactions in which temperature change is being noticed when the reactions are taking place. Temperature change, it can be either the temperature can increase during the reaction, as it happens when calcium oxide reacts with water. So when calcium oxide, it reacts with water, calcium hydroxide is being produced together with the evolution of heat. So heat is being produced which increases the temperature. Whereas there are some reactions in which temperature decreases when the reactions they are taking place. For example, as it happens when ammonium chloride is being treated with water. So when ammonium chloride, it reacts with water, their absorption of heat takes place, due to which the temperature decreases during the reaction. So again, the change in temperature, it also indicates a chemical reaction. Now the next is change in states. States means the physical state. solid, liquid, gas. So these are your physical states. So there are some chemical reactions in which the reactants before the reaction they are having some difference, they are in some different state, and the product which is being formed after the reaction, it is formed in a different state. For example, when hydrogen reacts with oxygen to form water, hydrogen and oxygen, which are your reactants, they are in gaseous state, whereas the water which is being formed after the reaction, this is having a liquid state. So the gaseous state has been changed into the liquid state. So this change in state also indicates a chemical reaction. So these were some characteristics of chemical reaction. I hope you all would have understood what are the characteristics of chemical reaction. So in this whole video we have discussed, we have talked about what are the chemical reactions, why does a matter undergoes a chemical reactions, and then we have seen the characteristics of chemical reactions. Thank you.